This project, Maximising the Value of Irrigation, is looking at how to improve productivity and reduce the environmental impacts associated with irrigation. We've developed the science that will be needed to create daily maps of water use that variable rate irrigation systems can then use to apply daily or to work out how much water is required daily on a spatial basis across a field. And one of the things we did was have a bit of a think about what sort of technology might be available in the future and what science we can do now to help enable the application of that technology in irrigation.
Well, it was my baby when it started out here, and my baby's grown up. And it's great that we're actually able to deliver the new technology that farmers can make use of.
The theory in doing so is relatively old, but it's only recently that the technology to be able to collect the information that you need around canopy temperature in particular has become sufficiently widely available that we can collect enough information to do this kind of research and look to apply it in the field in the future.
When we started out, we had a limited number of things that we could measure. We used to measure some things like soil moisture once a week. The way that the new technology has gone means that we can do that every 15 minutes now. We really can keep track of where all the water goes, what's happening to it, and there's a whole lot of new technology. It just means that there's stuff that we can do much better than we could when I was involved in this 30 years ago.
One of the things we thought about is that drones would be in commonplace, and so farmers might have drones flying around their farm collecting up images of how things are looking in their fields, and drones can measure all kinds of different things. So they can take images of canopy temperature, for example, and the size of the crop canopy, and those bits of information are actually quite relevant to how much water the crop is using. As crop water use decreases, when the soil dries, the temperature of the canopy will elevate. And so if you had drones flying around your farm making a map of the canopy temperature across the field, you could then convert that into a map of crop water use, and that can be provided to an irrigation system that has variable rate capacity to apply irrigation at precisely the right amounts across individual fields.
Farmers now can track their irrigation system. They can track and control every nozzle. They know exactly where it is because GPS technology allows them to do that. They know what the variations, or at least potentially know what the variations are across their paddocks, and they can respond to that. And the work that's being done now is really aimed very solidly at that sort of precision agriculture.
The technology we're using here is infrared radiometers, which are permanently mounted on the crops that are behind me, and they are recording the temperature of the crop at 5-minute intervals, and so we're able to work out crop water use at quite high frequencies, hourly water use even, and then relate that to the canopy temperature and the crop cover. And myself and my colleague Pete Jamieson have developed a series of algorithms that can convert that information into crop water use. And so in the experiments behind me, we're also measuring crop water use, which we've been using to develop these relationships.
And the idea behind it was just to see if we could make production rather more efficient so that we don't supply more water than we need, that we know exactly what we're doing and we know exactly what the economic consequences of doing stuff is.
So we've run a series of experiments on different crops. We've had barley crop, wheat crop, fodder beet, oats, and the crop behind me now is potatoes. And we used the data from the barley crop to develop the algorithms, and then we've used the other crops to test the algorithms and make sure they are applicable to a range of crops, and we're seeing some really quite encouraging results. So now we're looking to how we actually apply this in the field, and that's where the idea of drones or potentially images from satellites come into play. We've done enough experimental work in the meantime. Now we really need to start trying to roll this technology out into the field, and what we're really looking for is someone to partner with So I talked about the potential limitation being with drones or satellites, which is technology that we're not familiar with. So we'd quite like to find someone who has expertise with these sorts of systems and the acquisition of this data, so we can then team up with them to take that data, interpret it into validated spatial irrigation recommendations, and be able to provide that as advice to farmers, or ideally have that plumbed directly into a irrigator, so the irrigator is talking to the technology, and the irrigation operator need not have any involvement beyond trusting what's going on.